Good morning and welcome to TIP TV CEO interviews. My name is Malcolm Graham Wood and I'm really pleased to welcome again James Parsons, who is the CEO of Sound Energy. Welcome back, James.
Thank you.
It's great to see you again, and so much has happened. But to begin with, there will be people who don't know that much about sound, so maybe you can give a bit of an overview of what's happened and who you are.
Sure. Thanks, Malky. I mean, we are today listed on AIM, and we are a European and African explorer. So we're upstream, and we positioned ourselves with three strategic plays here: Tendrara, eastern Morocco; Sidi Mokhtar, western Morocco; and Badile in Italy. Now, these are all onshore; they're all gas, and that was fundamentally the storyline we built here, and that is what we do, that is who we are. Now, the first of those, we've obviously just finished drilling very successfully. We've unlocked there, we believe, a quite exciting play, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more. But that's the story, is fundamentally an onshore gas business built around strong European gas fundamentals, pricing-wise, and we're one of three strategic plays down, and it's going very well.
Excellent. And you're moving out to a bigger market, quote, and you're going to be on the set system and that sort of stuff.
Exactly. So a little bit more liquidity
for the stock.
It's a positive. Yeah.
Excellent. So it's been an incredible run. We've places in the last 2 or 3 months, astonishingly. Well, with so much good news to come from Tendrara on its own, can this really continue?
Yeah, to be honest, Malky, I think we're just getting started. You know, what we've done here, let's step back from it. It's the nature of our business, big binary outcomes. What we do is we drill holes in the ground and we either find copious amounts of hydrocarbons or we don't. Good news, we did. And that first strategic play, Tendrara, has really, we believe, unlocked the Taghi Reservoir east of Morocco. So, is there more running room in the stop? Absolutely. Do I actually believe there's now more upside than there was when we were back at 16, 17p? Yes, I do, based on the maturity of our assets. And we're very excited about what we're doing here. So we see, essentially we're trading off a discount on Tendrara now. That's the way to think about this. The historic 500% rise is fantastic, and we're very pleased with that, of course. But actually, when you look at the sort of core net asset value, we're trading at a pretty heavy discount to what we believe we've got here. So there's everything to play for.
So what's what would you say the recipe for success is in building an AIM oil and gas company, apart from making massive hydrocarbon finds?
Well, that certainly helps along the way. Our approach here has been to get the right people in, to help those people find the right portfolio, and then for that portfolio to bring in the partners. And it's those 3 Ps, really. It is the people, it is the portfolio, it is the partnerships, which have unlocked it for us. We're lucky to have Schlumberger and a cornerstone investor as our 2 sort of key strategic partnerships. Schlumberger paying the bills and technically de-risking the assets. A cornerstone investor, 15% of the stock, a non-exec director position. That's a structure which is really important. The portfolio, I think a diversification there, Italy, Morocco, but also across 3 strategic plays that geologically are completely separate is important. And the people, we're very proud of our team, and we've recently broadened that as well.
Good. I'm going to come back to Schlumberger later on. But I would like to speak up on that point about beefing up the management. Recently, you've announced a new structure with you in charge of what would be the running the business committee, with new people and moving people around. Perhaps you could tell people who you've just brought on board.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had to mature the organisation after the success in Tendrara. Frankly, the assets we're now looking at, and particularly the development potential in Tendrara, is a world-scale asset. It brings complexity, it brings the need for more technical competence and assurance and review at the project level. So what we've done is we've built up a little bit of a matrix structure with the country managing directors, and adding on to that some executive vice presidents by function. So production, where we've brought in Brian Mitchinger, which we're very pleased to have welcomed. It was in BG in a very high senior role there, exploration expert, and he will help guide us to unlock that longer term potential in Tendrara. And then we've actually used some of the existing team in the production development piece, where we have a lot of reservoir engineer leadership capability already. So we've asked Leonardo Spicci to step into a second functional role there. So it's been a nice balance between keeping the cost base tight and also providing the right skills to unlock these assets.
Brilliant. Now, the question really is, what can investors expect over the next 8 to 12 months? I mean, I've got in my book things like Badile, T8 and the Outpost well, and first gas at Tendrara at some stage. So give us a run through what the investors might expect coming up.
I think the next 8 to 12 months, it's going to be a little bit like ordering the taster menu, in a 3-star Michelin restaurant. It's going to be back-to-back great experiences with a grand finale at the end. So let's play out this next 12 months. What have we got? We're starting with TE7, which we're nearly finishing drilling now.
Yeah.
So, approaching the reservoir, real near-term action there, and that's the next week or two. This is proving not only more hydrocarbons, but also the sub-horizontal concept, which will enhance the production, which was already very strong from the last well. So that's TE7. Back to back with that will be TE8, which will be our first outpost well.
Yep.
So combining both proving up what we hope is this multi-TCF near-term potential, but also being another producer in the near term. And then for the first time, we've actually got Badile on the stocks.
Yeah.
Next week we're commencing civil works. We are good to go, operationally, permitting-wise ready. And as you know, in Italy, that's no mean achievement. So all this is happening at the same time. And when we can, we will also fit in Sidi Mokhtar well test, which is something we've been sort of wanting to do for a long time. And so actually, it's all going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months and should be very exciting.
I've got two questions there about Badile. One is, presumably, you're going to do the sound energy trick of having a webcam on site.
Yeah, goes live at the weekend. Yeah, exactly right. So we're actually running now 2 webcams simultaneously. One for Tendrara and one for Badile, and that's important to us. Investor communications are important.
Of course they are. And in the old days, Zabida was clearly a so it was deemed to be a sort of lookalike to Badile. Is the permitting process for that continuing, or is it early days yet? Or?
Yeah, Zibido's right next door. So our plan was always, and actually remains, drill Badile successfully and then turn our head to Zibido, because once Badile is drilled, the value of Zibido is exponentially higher. So really, it was a choice on the sequencing there. So it is one then the other. Yeah.
So, but will it take a long if the permitting process isn't happening? Will it take a long time, or will it? If Badile is a success, will it naturally? Because you would think that these are things of 3, 4, 5 years in Italy. When we go back to pre-Morocco days, we worry about.
It is a contrast. It takes us on average 3 to 4 years to get a permit done in Italy, and 3 to 4 months in Morocco, just to give you that sense of balance. So Zibido absolutely will start the permitting after we successfully drill Badile.
Right. Now, one of the things that we're going to talk about is the size of Tendrara, which is the subject of much discussion when you had your retail investor day, which I was privileged to be at. You got battered from all sides, but you were unable then, and I'm sure you're not able now to give us an exact number. But I have to say, when I looked at the last presentation on the website, which you released a couple of weeks ago, it seemed to give me, or gives the readers, a guide to what you might call 3 or 4, that sort of TCF. Within the sort of immediate area of the wells you're drilling, maybe the 250 square kilometres that you're in at the moment. Now, you've got another 1,800 kilometres, and you've got the adjacent Medija permit and so on. So give us an idea of what Tendrara might be like and what the adjacent size of the potential is.
It all starts with TE6. So this is the well we've recently completed. A real success for us. The commercial flow rate was 3 to 3.5 million scuffs a day, and we found this well was delivering 17 million scuffs a day. So an enormously, an uplift that was exponential. And that surprised even us. Great news. Yeah. Now, the other data that isn't so headline number is the fact that the gas gradient, the pressures, etc., correlate with all the other wells on the structure. And some of these are a long way away. TE2 historically is some 30 kilometres to the northeast. Now, that and other factors have led us to believe, and we've been quite public about this, that there is the possibility here of a very large connected structure. Were that the case, you're looking at enormous numbers. Algeria next door is one of the world's largest gas producers. The Taghi reservoir flows into Morocco. That's not up for debate anymore. The question is how much hydrocarbons have we got here, and how permeable is it? We've tried not to speculate because it's early stage. What we have said is we think near term it's multi-TCF, and we'll need a few more wells and some seismic to prove that up. And after then, there's an awful lot of running room. And I think, you're doing maths and other people are doing maths. In due time, we will provide guidance on that, and also a development plan that will unlock it. We haven't done so far.
You've given a little bit of guidance in the sense that, for every TCF is possibly £1 a share and so on. Well, what gas price are you using?
That's based on $8 per scuff, which actually is reasonably conservative in Morocco. You see Circle are producing about $12 per scuff. So we tried to base it on something quite conservative. And you're right, every gross TCF on the licence roughly equates net to sound to about £1 on the share price. So the near-term multi-TCF piece, already underpins the stock. That's why I say there's a lot of running room. If you then look a little bit longer term, if you put some other numbers, what are the comparators out there? Look at Eni's Zohr field offshore Egypt. Now that's offshore economics, much worse, but that's got a certain scale to it. And we'd like to have some of that.
It's up for sale, isn't it? So
it is.
Who knows what might happen there. I've got a good idea of that. Before I move on to the sort of retail and so on, I'd be interested in that. You talked about Schlumberger, who have been good partners in your prospects, and they've in some cases taken a share of first, second, and third wells.
That's right.
Is that on a well by well basis, and you have to renegotiate later on, or is there by drilling the wells, they've obviously taken a percentage in the acreage? Does that change at all over the next year or two?
So essentially, we farmed into 55% working interest on Tendrara, and actually the same subsequently on Meridia. They came in, Schlumberger, and took half of our position.
Yep.
And in return for that, they've carried us, and actually the other partners as well, on the majority of the first 3 wells. So for the first one, they've paid obviously at 80%. The next 2, they're paying 75%. So we're left with sort of $3 million per well, which we can easily afford. Our cash balance is sort of $30 million at the moment. And that really positions us with all the upside exposure in the world, and actually the near term, quite limited downside.
Yeah.
And they're a great partner. I mean, it's not just about the cash and the funding, it's the technical de-risking as well. You see a lot of small caps making a mess of complex assets. And we think we're better than most technically, but we have that partnership which we think underpins it.
And I remember when I visited Tendrara, they're very, very impressive.
Exactly.
You've got a really good reputation in the marketplace for treating your investors well. Obviously, with a large retail investor base, it's not easy. And you treat them with a lot of respect, and I've seen it because I've spoken at 1 or 2 of your dues and so on. I know that that's what you should do. I know what every company should do. But you take it the extra mile. What makes you do that, and how do you...
Yeah, we like to, the first-class experience is what we want to offer our retail investors, our private investors. The intent there is, they get the comfortable seat, they get a personal chat with the captain. It's their business at the end of the day, and we like to be transparent in our communication. We like them to see what's going on, warts and all. There's no, and so we're taking 40 or 50 of them around site in a few weeks. We have regular dial-in conference calls. I'm available. If people want to send me an email, pick up the phone, I'm okay with that. And we think that's part of our ethos, part of our culture, part of what we do differently that makes us successful. And over time, you build up this two-way relationship and this mutual trust. And that, I think, is what makes a difference in the good times and the bad times.
Yeah, so in the bad times, if anything were to go wrong, that they'd say, well, he was there for us all the time, and you'd do just as many conference calls with hundreds of people on the conference calls. That it was ironic. I remember talking at the time of the last retail presentation when the shares were 60p or something, 50, not even that, and the people were looking for 100p a share.
Yeah.
Now I would say 100p is a stop on the journey rather than a target price, wouldn't you say?
Well, I'm a bit old-fashioned as a CEO. I don't think really I should be providing too much commentary on the share price. What I would say is our 3 strategic plays, I've said before, each have that 3-digit share price potential. Yeah. To be honest, on Tendrara, maybe we need to think about reframing that to 4-digit. But let's put that to one side. Yeah. On the other 2, they've each got individually, that 3-digit potential. So there's plenty of running room left here. And that's one of the key messages I want to get across, is that we shouldn't be looking back at that 500% rise. We should be looking forward at, what's the discount off the value we've created at the asset level. That's the key sort of perspective, which is important for us to maintain. Yeah.
All these retail investors seem to know that you've been on a strategy forum, or a away day, or whatever it is. And I'm not expecting you to tell us what you said at that, or what was it, but you had a board and advisors and various people together, and you're just thinking about the future, the long term? No, it was good. Last week, we had all week actually in Morocco. We went to see Sidi Mokhtar, did some operational stuff as well, talked to the troops, but also as an exec team, we got around and talked about what do we want to do with this business, near term, long term? We're taking the board through that tomorrow, so there's proposals that flow out of that, as you would expect. It's great. I mean, it's the winner's curse in a way that you have challenges ahead that you didn't have in the past. Yeah. But that's what we want, and we think there's an awful lot of value here to still unlock. And that's the existing portfolio. If you start thinking about the current climate, what else is available, the fact there's no limited competition for other deals, we think right now is a perfect time to be in the sweet spot we are in. Yeah. You said it at that same last presentation that you're not going anywhere, and people worry, especially it's been such a success story that people are knocking on your door every 5 minutes. But you're going to see this story out, and
Absolutely. I mean, it's a team effort, first of all. I mean, I always say this, and it's true. You know, although I'm the sort of figurehead for the company, behind me, rightly, is an executive team, and it is a team that makes success. And we're here till the job's done. We've been very public about that for a whole bunch of reasons, but mainly because actually we want to deliver what we came to do, and our credibility derives from successful delivery of an end game. And we were clear 4 years ago what that end game looks like, and we're well on the way to executing that.
brilliant. Normally for my last question I ask for a vision, but you've given us plenty of vision. For you, I'm going to say something completely different.
Okay.
I know Sound Energy uses the social media a lot. If you had to offer us investors one more hashtag to the investing retail, what would it be? You're a hashtag man.
We've done a few hashtags.
Yeah.
We've done let the drill bit do the talking, which I think has worked out quite nicely for us. It has. We've done delivering dreams in the desert, which quickly became delivering reality in the desert. And I think if there was one more, it would probably be bring it on.
Yeah, great stuff. James Parsons, CEO of Sound Energy. Great story to talk about. Thank you very much for coming in and being my CEO guest today. Hashtag bring it on.